Hey, boys and girls, weather report for October 4th, 2021. This is really not a good idea today. I'm totally unprepared. A lot of things are going on all of a sudden. There won't be a weather report tomorrow because I'm going to go and get a calcium score, which tells you whether or not your veins are plugged or not. You know, I do it about every 4 years, so we'll see how that works.
Yeah, folks, take care of your calcium scores.
Take care of your calcium scores. Yeah, I usually score pretty good, but it's going to be a father and son calcium score. So me and my son are in competition.
Very cool.
Yeah, father-son calcium score. Awesome. Not many people know about the calcium score because doctors don't like it. Like a doctor explained to my son, we don't like a calcium score because if you don't have over 400, we're not going to do anything anyway. He says, and I had a doctor tell me, I don't like calcium scores. I'm not going to treat you for a heart attack unless you have or I'm not going to treat your heart unless you have a heart attack. And I just looked at him like he was the most, like, what did you just say to me? You just told me that you're not going to do anything for me about heart health until I have a clutching pain in my chest and fall over and have a 20% chance of dying. It's like, you know, medicine in the United States is a little bit weird. And it's weird because of the insurance companies, I think. Because it is in the insurance company's best interest that you do not have a calcium score, which only costs $100 without insurance. Because if you drop dead, it doesn't cost them anything. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
But if they find out that you have a heart condition, well, then that costs them a ton of money. You know, they have to treat you. They have to do something. It's like, God, sometimes doctors say the stupidest things. And I fired all the doctors that give me that kind of bullshit because I'm kind of into preventative medicine. You know, I kind of want to know what's coming so that we can do something about it. Maybe.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I'm weird that way. You know, I kind of want to know if I'm going to die so I can do something about it.
Yeah.
Like I always look ahead to see if there's a rake that I might step on and hit me in the head. You know, like when I come to an intersection, I always look both ways.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea.
Yeah, I'm weird that way. You know, apparently insurance companies are not weird that way. So.
But how do you ground all that instantiation though? Like,
I can't ground it.
You can't ground any of that, so you don't know when you look both ways if you're actually seeing a car or not. So, you know nothing. Therefore, God, you know. Yeah.
So yesterday we have premiered 2 talks with scientists, and we got really, really low views. In fact, John Maddox reviewed my talk with Ben Gold. What do we get on the Ben Gold thing? 60 views, and he got 530 views reviewing me.
Really?
So at least somebody heard the talk, you know. But it was basically with John's commentary. Whatever it was, I have not listened to the commentary portion of it yet, so I have no idea what John had to say about it. I'm guessing he seized on. Well, he originally brought the paper. And there were some things basically that I was pushing back against on Gold's theory. And the way it turned out is I think John got Gold's theory wrong. But I don't know how well we explained that. But anyway, there's a problem with neurons. And there's a problem with ideas that want to find more information in the brain than the brain needs. to do what it does, right?
Yep.
And it's a little hard to explain, but the brain tends to take a whole bunch of information and reduce it. It doesn't take information and identically represent it. So there's no representation in your brain of the world that you're seeing right now. You're not referring to a representation that you put down in the past. You are referring to what's coming into your sensory input right now.
Yep.
And you're reducing it to some ideas and words and, you know, concepts and so it's a little bit different now. There's a whole theory in philosophy of the mind about representation in the brain. Like it is thought by the average man that when you look at a red cup, that you have a eidetic representation inside your brain. And the problem with that, as Dan Dennett tried to point out in his book,
hey, maybe you need a visual aid with that red cup example.
I should put the cup up again.
Yeah, I think people need that visual.
I don't want to turn my camera on. I got too many lights on right now.
Well, never
Probably
mind.
haven't combed my hair in a week.
So I was just trying to provide quality content for our viewers. That's okay. I'll put myself back on the.
Well, hello there.
There's
Thanks,
a red
Top
cup.
Dog. You're the best.
No, a red cup for you.
I don't even have my camera plugged in because I have it hooked up to my microscope. Sorry, dude. Get your own goddamn red cup.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So the idea is that there's a representation of a red cup somewhere in your brain, in the neurons, that all that information is in your neurons. But the problem with that idea is who's looking at that representation? And you get into this infinite regress of a homunculus. And well, you know, so who's, you know, looking at the stuff that the homunculus is representing? There is no homunculus in your brain. You're an interactive biological phenomena in the world. And as things are coming in to your senses, you're basically responding to what's in the world. So it's like you're dynamically interconnected to what's going on in the world around you. You do not have to represent the cup, and there is no viewer looking at the picture of the cup. Okay, so then we get to the idea of talons in the neurons, right? That, you know, you have a neuron and you have a whole bunch of inputs. They're called dendrites, and sometimes you can have as many as 10,000 inputs on a neuron. But the total effect of all the signals that come into all of those 10,000 dendrites is only going to be one thing. Either your neuron is going to fire or it's not. And if it fires, it usually hooks up to one other dendrite. Okay. So it's got dendrites coming in, axon going out. Yeah, here we go. Top Dog's got it.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's try to make it full screen. I actually had a little drawing last night, so you know we've got and then you got the axon terminals. Now axons sometimes branch out, but oftentimes it'll have one output. So on the end here we have axon terminals. So you see the dendrites up on top. They gather thousands of inputs. They fire once, and that neuron fires, and it's going to fire on all those axons, all those axon terminals. And that is not exactly a typical neuron. We'll get into it maybe at some point and show you nice little diagrams. But typically they'll have like one output, and it'll fire off on another neuron. And it goes from there. So it's basically reductive. It takes all of these hundreds of inputs, and it reduces down to one bit of information. And that's what happens. Except, you know, you have 30 million of those things in your cortex, and they're all firing in different patterns and working together with your sensory input from your body and all the other senses. You actually have more than 5 senses. You can sense the oxygen level in your body. You can sense the glucose level. You have an entire mess of things coming in from your stomach. It tells you whether or not you've eaten something bad or whether you're happy or hungry or whatever. So there's a lot of sensory input coming in, and that is your mind as it operates in the world. So I don't know. So the idea that these talons, these proteins, have 13 bits each of information in them makes sense, but only in that it's going to change the analog strength of that output from that neuron. So it's going to change it from 0 to 100, right? So it's going to have some effect on it, and it's going to have some memory. And what Dr. Gould found is a significant means for you to have memory from one instant to another. So you have temporal memory, so that like, not only am I looking at my cat now, but if I close my eyes, the cat, still hovers a little bit in my vision. And if I open my eyes again and see the cat there, I am not surprised, because my neurons have basically, there's some temporal information in them that tells them there's a cat there, And so you're not going to be surprised. If the cat disappeared, then I would be surprised. And I wish the goddamn cat would disappear. Loki, could you just please leave? It's not working. Anyway, so I was kind of pushing back on this idea that John had, that he suddenly found a way that the brain is a disk storage device like a computer, and it's storing 10 petabytes of information. The amount of information in your brain is far greater than 10 petabytes, but it's not the kind of information that people think it is. Not a representation of your world. Something else.
Yep.
So anyway, but so and I'm hoping to have more talks with Dr. Gould about exactly what they found. But apparently they found mechanical modifications at the synapses that are going to affect those talons. And what I want to know is what that means for basically signal trains in the brain. Like there's these, like if you're looking at something,
there's trains in the brain.
Trains in the brain.
Are they from
There'll
Spain?
be like, yeah, if you're looking at something, that neuron will fire kind of periodically. It'll keep firing. So there's a firing pattern. So there's a signal train or a pulse, of signals. And it keeps up for some bit of time, even after you're not quite looking at it anymore. So, but now when they look at an individual neuron, and I think they've done it with Drosophila or fruit flies, they've shown them exactly the same input, and they've recorded what comes out in terms of pulses. This spike signal that comes that the neuron, they're measuring on the neuron, right? And they've recorded it, and then they'll show them exactly the same input in exactly the same position on the same fly, and they'll end up with a different set of pulses, and still another and another. And what they've been able to find is a statistical pattern, and using some intense mathematics, they can derive something that is the same when you're looking at the same input, okay? So what Dr. Gould has provided us here is the possibility of how that works, that it has something to do with these talon proteins, that they are the mechanical computation that gets to that signal out of the neuron and makes sense out of it, that sort of thing. So that's what we're looking at. Anyway.
Cool.
There's that.
Very interesting.
Yep.
I don't know. Did it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they call it liveware, not hardware, not software, but liveware.
Liveware, yeah. And it makes sense to me to think of my mind as a dynamical interaction in some locality, where I am in time and space. And I'm a biological organism. My mind is not in one little spot, There is no my mind looking at the world. There's no representation. There's just me as an organism being in the world, being interacted upon by all these, different inputs and stuff. and that's how I tend to look at it. Oh, goddamn, spooky scared the shit out of me just now. It's Halloween. It's October. Anyway, and then we have this. Let me get this up. What do we have? Oh my goodness, Pudding Brain finally gets a review. By the way, Otangelo did the artwork for our thumbnail, and I think it's spot on because when nobody's looking, I like to play dress up.
Yep.
Yeah. So I figure those guys are spying on me. He took one of Peter's thumbnails and he modified it. So Otangelo's biting back on the thumbnail. So a little bit.
We got the other half of the shit for brains in the chat too.
Oh, LPP's here. So what am I making up, John? What am I making up? Exactly. I wanted to, where the hell are we? Okay, make sure I got all my shit together. Unmute site. Okay, I think that's up. So what am I making up, John? Why don't you tell us in chat here?
Read the chat also, the very newest one.
Hey, real quick, Speed, do you want to put your avatar back up or just leave it with the I forgot my glasses look?
Oh. Okay, let me stop my camera.
Come on, Speed. We're trying to have some quality content, and there you pull that.
Quality content. So on John's show last night, that guy had a talk with Andrew.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, let's see. So what are we making up? Okay. So, I'll give you a link, Crispr. Goddamn, I said I wouldn't do this, didn't I?
Well, that's all right.
Fuck.
And by the way, if we're running low on content, I do have a I Wish I Karen Would video fresh off the press.
Those are always fun too. Yeah.
They are.
Yep.
Yep.
They're funny.
Oh, let me put some headphones on. There were a few parts here last night with Andrew. I don't know. Maybe should we go over it with Andrew, or Andrew had a frustrating time on John's stream last night.
Yeah. Because these guys are big boys. They can go after a young kid who's nothing but respectful to everybody, and they're just so manly. Going after a kid like that. Yeah. I find it amazing, John. When you come on, I can see John still in chat here. When you come on here, your manliness is just overwhelming. It just oozes through the internet.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because you're stupid. Yes, Andrew, you know why? You know why, Andrew? Because you are dishonest and you are stupid and you are an idiot.
Yeah, there's Otangelo being a nice guy. How about that?
Yeah.
Amazing how you are either a liar or so dumb that you don't even listen to the ridiculous amount of caveats I issued specifically to account for your dumbass. I didn't listen to your review, John, so why don't you tell us what exactly you found about what I just said about the mind and Ben Gold that, Crispr, I sent it by email, that you're having a problem with, because I haven't had a chance to review it. I was reviewing Andrew and Otangelo, and the rough time you gave Andrew last night, some of the ridiculous shit. The scale to feather thing, which was pretty fucking ridiculous, where you guys kind of got that all wrong. What else was there? Oh, let's see. Thumbnails. Here we go. Oh, we're working on Crispr.
So the more that we try to figure out real life how it works and stuff, the more they double down on their fiction. Is that what the problem is?
Yeah. Yeah, well, they got it down. Oh, I wanted to play this part right here. There's this is really cool. So Crispr, you're having trouble connecting. And StreamYard and the entire internet is having problems today. Facebook was actually down. Okay, so they're talking about the flood, but listen to Jungle Jargon and his argument for why the flood happened.
No, you go and see what was buried by the global flood. Then you could know what the world was like before it was destroyed by the global flood.
Did you catch that? Oh, let me.
Yeah.
Amazing
Let me-
discourse. Amazing.
Amazing. Let me slow
Where to get
that
his
down.
information?
Let's see. Okay, here we go. Here's his argument. It's not playing.
No, you go and see what was buried by the global flood. Then you could know what the world was like before it was destroyed by the global flood.
So, and Andrew kept asking him, "What the hell are you talking about?" It's like,
Yeah.
well, what is your? How do you prove the global flood, right? And it's like John is kind of quiet during that flood talk because I don't know if John actually has ever committed to the global flood. I don't know. Crispr, you're not.
You know, I just find John to be what an absolute dipshit. Look at the shit that he writes. Oh, I'm a fortune teller. John, you have no clue. Like, we could give two shits. We struggle and struggle and struggle to find some sort of content to even talk about you because we would love to. But you are such an absolute dipshit. There's nothing to talk about. And listen to the shit. Oh, I'm a fortune teller. You guys love to talk about me. We try because we love to, because you are a dipshit. But there's barely anything to talk about because you talk about, in slow motion. So everybody has to speed it up because you can't speak. And then, the sentences that come out of your mouth make no sense whatsoever. We have to replay them and say, what the fuck are you saying, John? So that's about what it boils down to, Johnny boy.
And besides, we weren't really talking about you, John. We were talking about Otangelo and Jungle Jargon on your show.
Exactly. That's
Andrew,
what a dumbass he is.
Like,
he doesn't even realize it. Yeah, what's sitting there talking about Otangelo? Because he was a dick to Andrew. And John, you're talking about me. I predicted it. God, you're so freaking stupid.
Hey, Speed, Peter says check your chat, email, or both. Okay.
Thank you, Peter. That'll be Wednesday's thumbnail. So Crispr still hasn't been able to connect. I'm not sure why. Anyway, John, I did not listen to that part of your little thing last night. I haven't had a chance to review it yet. So why don't you tell us what you actually said? Because I have no idea what you actually said. I only heard what you said when you originally introduced the paper last week. So I'm sort of, in the dark here as to what you had to say. So I don't know, just for the hell of it, I'm going to throw this guy out. What do you think?
Up to you.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that guy.
Yep.
Anyway, haha, dipshit, you were in the side chat during the review. Okay, I didn't, I was in the side chat. I can't remember what I heard. A long time ago, apparently I wasn't very impressed by it because I didn't even record any long-term memories. Tell me again, what is your problem with the Ben Gold interview? What was the point? Let us have it. You're there in chat. In the side chat. I was in the side chat for about 5 minutes because I was live while you were doing that review, by the way. I don't even know if I listened to it. So anyway, so you really are a pudding brain. Okay, you still haven't told me anything. You're still being an idiot. God equals the square root of X. Oh,
I think he just wants to stir something up. He wants to make it about him in some way.
Yeah, let's see. So, okay, so this is brilliant. That's brilliant, John. Now I know where you're coming from. I understand what you think about neurons and information.
Man,
Okay.
poor Crispr is not having a good time with this connection.
Nope. Still not connected. And we had problems with Dr. Nicholson. He just can't get in at all on StreamYard. I don't know why.
I know, that's so weird. It's frustrating. We're going to have to come up with an alternate way to bring him into StreamYard without him connecting to StreamYard. Or maybe you get OBS. I don't know. I hear it's better. But it
So
takes up a lot of memory.
John wants a link.
He does.
Yeah, I'll put it out there.
So it's link time for everybody?
Yep, link time for everybody. I don't care. Oh. What was I going to do?
Oh, I don't know. I was asking if you wanted to play I Wish I
we have too many people in the room now to even talk about. Oh, you want to play the Karen thing?
I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's up to you. We'll have to stop it and comment on it. I don't want to get a strike from TYT. All right, I want to share my screen. And here we go. I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to hit play. Let's do this.
What is she doing?
She wants to basically tell these landscapers how to do their job. She's just a resident.
I love Karens.
I will give you one guess as to what state.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
That's right.
Oh, no. Did he say it? I clicked the wrong thing. What state are they in?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm guessing this is Peter.
Oh, y'all aren't into this?
You know me so well.
Yeah, okay. We got John in the room here. Right off the bat, John,
Pete, if you want me involved here, Peter cannot be in here. I'm not having a conversation with him.
Okay, Peter. Peter. Okay, Peter, let him be.
I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet.
I'm not dealing with that dumbass.
Okay, John. So what do you want to talk about?
Okay, later. When you kick him out, I'll come back in.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I'm putting them back in now. Okay, this guy ain't coming in. So kick from studio, Otangelo. Kick guest. We kicked Otangelo. Anyway, Peter, you scared John away. So,
damn it, Peter.
Yeah, he's so afraid of me.
Okay, I'm gonna put you in the back room. I don't know what
it is.
Peter, I'm gonna put you in the back room, okay?
Yeah.
You okay? Okay, John. Come on back.
Crispr's in. I didn't notice he snuck in.
Yeah, Crispr, what did you have?
Wait, does that do it? Okay, there we go.
I can hear you now.
Muted 5 different places. Have to figure out how to turn them all off.
Okay.
No, I just amused by the fact that Otangelo replied to a comment I made on one of his videos 8 months ago. And after 8 months, his reply was both way too long and completely irrelevant.
Right.
This will surprise no one.
That's surprised that he replied with an encyclopedia length entry on one of my videos yesterday, and I didn't even read it because I got other papers to read.
It's just, he had all of that time to think up his reply, and he still tripped over his own feet.
Missed the mark. Yeah. Oh, anyway. So I don't know where LPP is.
I don't know either. That's fine.
Oh.
He is very optional.
Yeah, he is kind of optional. Anyway, I guess we're gonna have to bring Peter back in if John doesn't show up or whatever. But anyway, Crispr, you said something. Well, okay, you said something about a thumbnail that Peter did.
Oh yeah.
You had nothing to do with it.
No, certainly not.
No, no.
People have no taste.
Nope.
Bread of Life is offering to come in.
Yeah, Rebekah. Yeah.
I put the link out there. So, well, I don't want more than one thing going on at a time. So if John is going to come back in, John knows your window.
You should invite Snake. Invite Snake in.
I put the link on chat. Is Snake out in chat somewhere?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he's
probably
been in
still
chat.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, Bread Alive.
He might be working. I don't know.
Well, LPP used to drive a Prius, but it fell in a hole. So,
well, why don't we get Rebekah in here and John can just wait?
Oh God, this character. Who's this guy? Oh
what
my
the
God.
hell, girl?
You got some splaining. You got some splaining to do.
Yeah, I tuned back in, and I was like, "Is that John Maddox in a speed stream? What the hell?"
Yeah, he wussed out though. Peter scares him.
Yeah, he tried to take control of the presentation as soon as he got in here.
He's
it's a control thing with these
such a
narcissists.
beta cock.
Yeah.
Well,
Boy,
how long was he here for? I caught the beginning of the stream, but then I had other stuff to do.
Yeah, he just came in and said, if Peter is here, I'm not staying. You have to kick out Peter, he said.
So why does he have? Why does he have such a problem with you, Peter?
I scare him.
I thought it was me that he hated.
No, I scare him.
I like what Bond said.
I scare him to death.
I mean, realistically, it's.
I'm sorry, I'm whistling.
I mean,
Benny Hill.
I mean, I'm probably stronger than Jesus. That's maybe that's what it is.
Amy Newman's in the side chat. What's up, Amy?
Yeah, we got a lot of people.
Right. Amy can come in. Why?
Hey, Amy.
Why is Amy out in the side chat?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, you wanted to limit.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. No, I was just going to say about John that it's not like he's the only one who has a problem with Peter. So.
Yeah, Peter. Why do you think that is? That there's a lot of people with problems with you.
And I tend to say what I feel, and I tend to say that out loud. And probably there are not a lot of people who can take that.
Yeah. Grr.
What's on your mind these days?
Speed is afraid of me too.
I am kind of afraid of you. I've got to manage you better, Peter.
Let's hear from Snake.
He sent me an email. Make me this picture, but don't do this and this.
Yeah, don't be an ageist prick. Okay, is what I was telling you.
What the fuck is an ageist prick?
Go look at your thumbnail and then contemplate your behavior. Your ageist prick.
What thumbnail are we talking about?
Hello, Rebekah.
Don't you dare! I'll boot you this time. I mean,
Peter. What do you think? What do you think of my new flavor of Jello?
I like your Otangelo. Hi, Rebekah.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you, Mike?
Oh, we're pretty good.
We don't know. Weekend, Rebekah?
I'm jealous that Otangelo is getting so much attention.
I know. He doesn't deserve it.
Yeah.
The thing is, okay, Otangelo is definitely like your God in that he's omnipresent. I don't think he's omniscient, but he's definitely omnipresent because you can't tune into a stream.
You know,
he's not omnibenevolent either.
No, he's omnipresent. Yeah.
You just have to be really persistently wrong about everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what he's got going for him.
He does have that going for him.
Well, you guys already know my perspective on that. I agree with Otangelo. And I happened
That's
to see a
unfortunate.
bit of LPP's stream where he was kind of responding to Mike, and I don't remember who the other person was.
Dr. Gold. Dr. Gold.
Okay. Yeah.
What did he have to say? That was
Well-
so right on.
Well, of course, this whole idea of DNA coming together spontaneously, things developing by natural, like complex organisms developing by natural processes. Guys, this is absurd. Like, it really surprises me how many smart people are willing to believe this stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Rebekah.
Go ahead, guys. Tear me up. Fresh
Okay.
YEC meat.
Okay, the reason
We really don't have the desire to do that, but
Yeah. The reason we believe it is because we don't think it happened spontaneously or randomly or just popped into existence. That's actually your position. That's not ours. Okay. We know a lot about all of the details about how one thing has to happen and another thing happens. And then over very long periods of time, sometimes long periods of time, sometimes a little shorter, things change. And we understand a lot about the way those molecules work and the way things change because a lot of us have spent thousands of hours studying this material, right? And it's because of that that we believe in evolution. It's not because we we have some faith in things randomly falling together, or we don't rely on the law of large numbers or whatever, or probability. We look into the mechanics of it, right? And the mechanics of it are very persuasive when you look into it in detail, and they're persuasive to me. So that's why. So I think you're kind of like mischaracterizing us with this spontaneous, random, natural randomness or whatever. That's kind of in the imagination of the average person. When you start looking into it in detail, you get a different idea. God, I was almost as long-winded as Leo.
What I'd want to know is where you think natural law and natural processes break down.
Yeah.
Right? Where it is you think that they stop working. Because all we're doing is we're taking the processes that we know happen and we're extrapolating them back.
Yeah.
Well,
and you're
which
saying you can't extrapolate any further.
know happened? Which ones do you know happened?
Well, you can't know the past. Totally.
Okay.
Evolution.
So, well, okay, and so that's somebody just said we can't completely know the past, right?
Right.
So what I would like to understand is if we're talking about science, we're talking about observations that we make, experiments that we can do, what is repeatable, testable, and we can't test in the past. So I would like to know from your observations in the here and now. Okay, what we can
Rebekah.
I haven't got my point out. So just let me ask my question. In the here and now, where do you ever observe information arising without an intelligent source? Without a mind.
In nature all the time.
Yeah.
All of nature is information.
But I'm talking about where do you observe, because you don't know the starting point of how the natural world and how these things came to exist. You don't know it. You believe something about it, but you don't know it.
I'm saying, but isn't that moving? Isn't that moving the goalpost a bit? You asked where we saw information arise.
No,
now you're asking for the starting point.
Observe today happening.
Yes, we observe information arising in nature every day.
Yeah.
Where?
Change of allele frequencies in a species over time.
Specifically, when it changes from zero.
That's information.
Specifically, when the frequency
population.
changes from a zero to a number greater than zero, because that's a new allele, which is new information.
Right, but you're starting with information that's already
That
there. It's
is moving the goalpost.
changing.
That you just moved the goalpost.
How did I just move the goalpost?
Yeah,
because
you can't start with information and say that information changed. We're talking
No, it's
about
new. It's new information.
the arising of information.
Which means it's got to be new, right? And if it wasn't there before, it's new, right?
Hold on a second, guys. Okay, point of moderation. So Crispr is going to talk to Rebekah, and everybody else is not going to talk to Rebekah. Okay, for a while.
Okay,
and then maybe I will.
Okay.
Okay, Crispr.
So if you've got some amount of information, right, and then you have more information later, the new information had to arise, correct?
Sorry, I didn't unmute. Yes.
Okay, so if we know, because we start an experiment, right? Let's say we got some E. coli, right? We're going to start the experiment. I'm going to take some of these E. coli, and we're going to freeze them. And the rest, we're going to put onto media and let them grow.
Okay.
And we compare the genome of the ones we froze to the ones that we let grow, and we see that there's new information in the ones that we let grow relative to the ones that we froze.
That's comparable to, let's just say you've got a computer program and then you've got something that messes up the computer program, right? You wouldn't say that computer program gained information.
Well, if there's more information, than there was before, then it gained information.
And does that happen with computer programs? Do they gain new and useful information?
So biology is not well analogous to a computer program. I know people like to say it is, but those people are either not particularly familiar with how biology works or not particularly familiar with how computers work. It's very hard to find somebody who is reasonably well acquainted with both how computers work and how biochemistry works. Somebody like, for instance, myself, who would say that there's a very strong analogy between computer programming and biology.
Okay, well, I'm not an expert in biology or computer programming, but in my observation of the natural world, I don't see organisms like, appearing or developing. And I don't see that happening with anything.
All right, well,
no. So why would we think that what doesn't happen today could have happened long ago and far away?
Rebekah, excuse me, Crispr, but Rebekah, couldn't we say the same thing about your story about creation?
Actually, I think that she just asked a great question. I don't think that there's any reason to veer off yet.
Yeah, you could ask the same thing about my beliefs. But the difference between us is that I'm not claiming that mine is a my God is, that Christianity is a scientific fact.
Okay.
You also have a belief about what happened in the past, right? I have a belief about what happened in the past. You have a belief about what happened in the past. The difference is that you are claiming that yours is the scientific explanation, and and it's not.
Okay, so
because we have evidence.
So I think that the question that was asked was quite good, right? And so, how is it that we're going to? So you say that you look and you don't see the development, So I assume, as you are not an expert in biology, that you do not have access to, nor the inclination to attempt any kind of sequencing equipment, DNA sequencing equipment, right?
Oh,
Like you've never
no,
done
I
that.
don't. No.
Okay, so if the changes that you would expect to see in, say, 10 years in a population would only be readily recognizable by, say, RNA expression data cross-compiled across, a large number of individuals and then referenced against genomic sequence data, that's not something that you would notice because you're not in that field doing that work, right?
That's true.
Okay, so, but at the same time, you would admit, I assume, you would admit that mutations do happen.
Yes.
Okay. Would you also agree that some mutations, who knows what percentage, but some mutations at the very least, can affect morphology?
Yes.
Okay. Would you further agree that some of those mutations affecting morphology are heritable?
Yes.
And that some of those heritable mutations affecting morphology may also impact the fitness of the individual in that environment?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have all of those factors, then all I have to do is say, you admit that the mutations happen. You admit that the mutations can impact fitness. You admit that the mutations are inherited. Well, that's the whole game. That gets you basically all of metazoan life, right? All animals. Actually, everything past eukaryotes, more or less, is like, how are these cells clumping together? What's the timing of their expression patterns, right? It's morphology. Morphology is the game for the past 500 million years, which means it's very difficult for you to admit what you just did and accept what you just said you accepted and be a young Earth creationist. A creationist,
so
perhaps, but young Earth? No.
Well, it's not hard for me to admit any of those things because those are all things that we observe.
We do indeed.
But what we don't observe is the structures necessary in every living organism. Okay. We do not see those self-assembling and the DNA self-assembling.
So you're going.
It's totally,
okay, but I want
it's a
to hold on.
thing.
Hold on. Here's the thing: is you said you're a young Earth creationist, right?
Yes.
So I want to talk you out of the young Earth part of the creationism. I'll leave alone the creationist. Well, let's talk about the young Earth part, right?
Well,
so let's talk about the last 500 million years.
No, wait a minute. Hold on. Because you see, this is what I will admit to you right now, that there is some evidence against young Earth. I also think there's some evidence for young Earth. Okay. But this is, I don't want to get involved with debating about the scientific evidence for young Earth versus old Earth and let you slip away with your evolution, which is not scientifically supported. So this is what I often wait. This is what often happens when I get into these conversations, and evolution believing people get uncomfortable because they don't have an answer. And so they want to switch the conversation to talk about young Earth, which is an easier ground.
Oh, sorry, no, you missed my point. I'm sorry. You very definitely missed my point.
Okay.
All right. So my point is that I want to talk about the past 500 million years of evolution, right? Now, if 500 million years of evolution happened, the Earth is not young. I don't want to talk about like, oh, did the flood happen or anything like that. leave that alone. But what I don't want to do, right, is I don't want to get bogged down in how did life start? Because let's say that I just gave you that it's impossible for life to start, right? That doesn't give you a young Earth. It doesn't even support a young Earth. It says nothing about the age of the Earth at all. But if you give me that 500 million years of evolution happened, the Earth's not young. It's at least 500 million years old, right? So that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to get away from. Is I don't want to let you don't want to let me run away from evolution. That's fair. I don't want to let you run away from 500 million years of evolution. So I think that in that range, we've got a conversation, right?
Well, let's just say this. In this conversation, you're not going to convince me that you've got room for 500 million years of evolution, but I will grant it to you. I will I don't believe it at all, but I will give you 500 million years. I'll give you 20 billion years of evolution. I'll give you as much time as you want for evolution. It doesn't matter the time frame. It does not happen.
We do not make up these numbers. We get these from real life.
Sorry. Topic. I think I initially misunderstood what you were trying to say. So we can show variance in allele states, right? We can show that the types of mutations that you've already said occur, the types of variance that those mutations cause, accumulating in a population will produce a pattern of morphological disparity and divergence that matches the observed patterns of morphological disparity and divergence when put on top of the amount of time for those mutations to occur, right? So what we observe is entirely consistent with evolution happening on an old Earth. Now, if you, in other words, those processes that you agreed happen, if you wind them back through time, right, what you will see is that disparate populations of individuals that we define as independent species become more and more like one another, inhabiting territories more and more closer and closer to one another, until eventually they converge and they coalesce to a single population in a single territory at a single point in time. And that you can then add in new populations of individuals, and that those will then coalesce further back in time. Again, inferring or implying no new processes other than the ones that you've already agreed occur. Only heritable mutations affecting morphology, thereby affecting fitness. So you've already agreed that that process is a real one, that actually occurs in the world. And if I take that and I wind that process back, I get the common ancestry of all mammals, of all vertebrates, of all metazoans. And if you do the math on when that would have happened, based on the rates that we know are things are occurring at, right? Based on all of the sequence data that we've accumulated, based on all of the other observational data that we have on all of these massively disparate populations spread throughout the entire planet, we find out that it takes a real long time for it to coalesce. It takes about 500 million years or so for them to coalesce, but they do coalesce.
Well, now that is an assumption you're making. You're making an assumption that if you have enough time, these things will happen. But I don't
What will stop
agree. I don't. Well, first of all, there's a big difference in just like we were talking, the ability of mutations to change an organism. Look, you've got to go. I'm granting origin of life, which I don't think is possible, but I'm granting you that first, organism, that first one-celled organism. Now, how do you get mutations and natural processes to produce a thing like an eyeball?
Sorry, your own rules. Your own rules. We're starting with their observations now, right?
Yes.
So what are your observations now that are preventing the coalescence of humans and chimpanzees? What is that observation?
Well, there's a very big difference between a human and a chimpanzee. So what I'm
okay, what is it?
But I think the differences are pretty obvious.
I think there are many differences that are somewhat obvious, but
okay.
I got to tell you,
taking two organisms that are fairly similar. Let's take a one-celled
organism. Isn't that the point? No, but because the thing is, we have to start.
You're starting
now
with the assumption that they're similar because they had a common ancestor, and I'm not starting with that assumption.
No, but the thing is we have to ask what is stopping. We know. Okay, there's.
Okay, I'll tell you what's stopping it. I'll tell you what's stopping it. In every cell, there are error correcting mechanisms to stop.
I figured out the better way to ask this question. There are 4 different subspecies of chimpanzee, right?
I have no idea.
Just take my word on it.
All right.
And the 4 different of chimpanzee, and then bonobo is a separate species entirely. So, would you agree that the 4 species, the subspecies of chimpanzee, coalesce to a single population of chimpanzee?
I feel like I'm getting into territory that I'm not. I can't speak about. I cannot speak confidently about this. So I haven't done. I mean, I know nothing about this.
I don't know how you can speak confidently. If you can't speak confidently about this, I don't know how you could speak confidently about any of the rest of it.
Well, because I'm taking observations we do not observe in science, right? Mutations allowing new structures to be formed within organisms.
I mean, we do.
Well, give me an example of one, please.
Navel oranges.
What about them?
That's a new structure. So,
how is that a new structure?
Because it wasn't present in the oranges before.
Was it already an orange?
Okay, see, that's moving the goalpost. You realize that, right? It's a structure. It's a structure. It's a structure, right? And it wasn't there before, but it's still an orange. Well, sure, it's still an orange, but it's still a new structure in the organism, which is the point.
Yeah. And at what? And the point is, where in that was a peel able to develop a seed? Do you realize what it takes to have a seed and this thing? I mean, where did that develop? And that's what you're not, you're all of these things, you want to make it like as if we can basically by knocking down things within the organism or rearranging, you can suddenly get this like incredible system.
Right. Well, you're the one who's saying, you're the one who's saying that it's impossible to do it. And you're not supporting that you're not supporting that it's impossible.
Well, I'm going based on our observations right now around the world. We do not see information arising spontaneously from an. Well, I never agreed to your assessment. I never agreed that the natural world is showing us this. I agreed that we're seeing mutations within information that sometimes cause changes within organism. But where did the information come from in the beginning? That's what we don't have.
So to explain that, I have to work backwards because that's how this works. Okay. And what you're telling me is that you're not interested in hearing an explanation that actually explains things, because you want instead an explanation that involves magic. I don't have an explanation that involves magic. I have an explanation that involves using the known processes of the world and working them backwards over time, right? And getting from where we are now to where you're saying we cannot get using only those methods.
I'm saying it's a fine story for you to believe if you want to believe it, but you should not present it as if it's a scientific fact.
Well,
and it's
so
not.
again,
and again, yeah. I mean, I'm
projection
with what we observe.
So again, here's the problem, though. Right? Is if you're saying that it's a fine story, I'm going to assume that means that it's a plausible story. Not that you agree that it's true, but that you can't find anything with it that is impossible.
I do think it's an implausible story, and I think it does require magic. It does require magic because it requires something that goes far beyond what we observe in natural processes. I'm trying to, but you seem to think that just a mutation within an organism is enough to cause new structures, like incredibly complex structures and organs. We're talking about like an entire reproductive system, a digestive system.
I don't think
you think that these can arise by nothing but mutation?
Okay.
That's
Consider
the information has to come from somewhere for all of these systems to arise.
Okay, consider this. Does a single-celled organism need a digestive organ?
I know that the answer is the question is to her, but I would say no.
Well, the question definitely was to her.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I mean, it needs to be able to transfer energy.
It does indeed, right?
Through the cell wall.
Well, most single-celled organisms don't have a cell wall. That we're not going to get into that. Plasma membrane is what you mean. But yes, it would need to be able to transport energy. But we're talking about how do we get? Your question was, how do we get these complex structures? So we've already got life, right? Perhaps we even have multicellular life. Does all multicellular life need a digestive system? If you've got a string of cells that stick together, because having a big strand of cells can float on water currents or whatever, right? But every cell is exposed to the water current. Why do they need a digestive system?
Okay, but that has nothing to do with how did a digestive system
I know.
arise.
I'm getting there. Okay. That's the thing. I'm getting there. But you agree that in that circumstance, those things, they don't need a digestive system, right? Okay.
Sure.
So would those organisms, however, because remember, they can specialize. They're multicellular. The great thing about being multicellular is you can specialize, right? Because if you're a single cellular life form and you want to specialize to being really great at processing food to the exclusion of production of gametes, that's a dead end, right? Because you never make any gametes, Never have any little single-celled organisms in the next generation. So that's dead end. But if you're a multicellular organism, you can have some of your cells specialize and others make gametes. And so still works for evolution, right? So, okay. So you can specialize to some cells that are better at breaking down food on the outside, right? Food's on the outside, digestive stuff goes out. And we see organisms do this now, by the way, that they secrete enzymes to break down food so that they can then absorb it back in. Right?
What does this have to do with how an organism gets the information necessary to build a digestive system?
So I am getting there, but here's the question. Would you say that a mutation increasing the degree to which cells that already produce digestive enzymes secrete those enzymes relative to other cells in the same organism, is that the kind of mutation that can occur?
Probably, yes.
Cool. Right. So
don't say
now,
cool yet. You've got a long way to go.
Yeah, I know, but I got to make sure that you're with me on each step. So once you've got some cells that are specializing, again, and you said that it's fine to have specialized cells. Now, organism's a bit bigger, right? Organism's a bit bigger. It's able to encompass bigger chunks of food stuff, right? And holding that stuff inside of it, secrete those enzymes to break down the food. Okay? And you've got some cells that are specialized to being a little bit more rigid, a little bit stronger, which I think you would also say is possible, right?
Sure.
Okay, so now you've got the structure containing the structural cells containing the secretory cells, and now you have a way of enclosing food stuff and breaking it down by two different specialized cell layers. Two tissues working together makes an organ. That's how you get a digestive system off of two mutations affecting specialization and some number of mutations affecting morphology, all of which you've already said are possible. Continuously, selectively beneficial to that organism.
Well, that's an interesting scenario that you just,
that you said, but it's an interesting scenario that you said was impossible. That you said it was impossible.
No, because you're talking about two cells working together. But is that really equivalent to like a human digestive system right now? Is that equivalent?
I said two cell types, not two cells. Two cell types.
Okay, but is that equivalent to a human digestive system? How would you build
to like the digestive
system?
It's equivalent to the digestive system in, say, a worm. If you want to get up to a human, you need to bring in the fact that there are, there's some muscles there, but you already have muscles for anything.
Where did you get muscles?
Muscles are just cells specialized in contraction.
And where did those come from?
They came from the other cells that weren't specialized in contraction. They could contract a little bit, but they weren't specialized in it.
And
now
where did the information come from that makes muscle cells possible?
Well, you take the proteins that already cause contraction, right? And you express a lot more of it. And you've already said that mutations affecting expression levels are allowable. And so all you need for the muscle cell is a mutation increasing the expression level of those contractile proteins.
I don't know. This again. This is storytelling, and so that's what I would like.
Thing is
people who
I wanted to
believe
work.
This to recognize is that you're actually just telling an elaborate story about.
Here's the thing, though, is I wanted
I
wanted
don't
to give you.
think we can observe these types of things
Okay, but
happening
can I just
in
say?
nature, which is why we should not be calling this.
Can I just say? I wanted to give you the evidence. I wanted to give you the evidence working backwards, and you refused because you didn't see where it was going. And then you insisted that I give you, well, what's the pathway going forward instead of back? Well, then I tell you the pathway going forward instead of back, and you say, well, that's just storytelling. Like, this is like, if I can't go backwards, you won't let me go backwards, and you won't let me go forwards. What do you want me to do?
How about just starting with what we observe in the present, which is actually
that
is what
Great.
that is what we should.
I agree. Let's work backwards. We work backwards.
No, but you want to go.
Barrier? Is there a barrier preventing the coalescence of all chimpanzees?
I have no idea what that means.
So coalescence would be like, do you have any siblings?
Yes.
Okay, so you coalesce with your siblings at your parents, right? And you coalesce with any cousins you might have with your grandparents, right? That's coalescence.
All right.
So do all chimpanzees coalesce?
Yes.
Okay. Do chimpanzees and bonobos coalesce?
I have no idea. But this is but again, what we're talking about, you're going to want to keep going back and where the line is drawn, I don't know. But you're going to want to keep going back.
Well, but you need to be able to draw a line. Because if you're trying to say that the observable processes, the things that we observe right now that we know happen, don't apply in the past, you need to explain why they don't apply in the past.
Because you're switching what's happening. It's like saying you look, you can have a house and you can knock out a wall, right? But you don't build the house by knocking out walls. So
now you're asking me to go forward again.
You're trying to build the house, but the point is either whether we're going backwards or forwards in your story, you're still storytelling.
But
I'm asking you to stick with what is scientific and observable right now in the present. Do we observe new structures being formed in organisms by mutation? Do we observe?
Yes.
Oh, see, here's suddenly a new organ. Wow, this feature developed. Not just a different look to a feature, but like, does a new organ develop in an organism? This is what you need to happen over and over again for evolution to work. And this is not what we see happening. The amount of information that is required for something like an organ is so massive. It's not something that just
how have you
happens by
quantified that?
mutation. Look, I don't even have to be a scientist. This is
I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry, but this is common sense.
No, but it's not. It's not. Because you can't say that the amount of information is so massive and have no method whatsoever of quantifying the amount of information. That's not acceptable. You can't. That's not an allowed move in a conversation.
Okay, then let me ask you this: how many DNA sequences are needed for this kind of change? How many changes are needed for a new organ to arise in an organism? I'm asking you for the information now. How many?
between one and several.
For a new organ to arise, you only need one change within the DNA. You only need one.
So a new organ, right? A new organ would just be a new interaction between tissue layers. Okay.
No, not okay. I don't see how that. Let me look. Let's. I think we need a scientific Well, tell me that. Let's look up the scientific definition of an organ.
Okay, go ahead and do that. Did you find one?
A collection of tissues that structurally form a functional unit specialized to perform a particular function.
Right.
So you're changing me. You're telling me, okay, and like I said, I'm sure you probably know more about biology than I do. I can tell you do. But the problem is, you're trying to like make it seem like this is such an easy process. Tell me how many changes within DNA would need to happen for that type of thing.
So
for an organ to form.
What you would need is to have two tissues that do not currently interact in such a way that they do a thing. That's it. Because again, let's look at the definition, right? Collection of tissues, plural, more than one. You have to have more than one type of tissue. So you have to have tissues, right, that interact to form a functional unit. Okay, so if you have two tissues that are interacting that were not interacting previously, and they do a thing, anything at all, they do a thing, that is a new organ by all of the relevant definitions. Now, how likely is that? Well, how likely is it that you get interactions between tissue layers that had not previously interacted? I don't know the answer to that. But answer is...
You should know the answer if you're saying this is what we observe scientifically. Right?
Yeah, sure.
So what do you observe? What experiments have been done that show how many changes need to happen within a DNA of an organism for a new organ to arise?
So I'll give you an example. There are some mutations in humans, in fact, that cause a morphological change in the way some of the tissues of the throat develop, such that these new tissues interact with the tissues they're forced to pass through, and it's understood that this interaction of tissues appears to have a function with respect to some sense of smell and taste, if I'm understanding this correctly. So that would be a new organ in humans, very recently discovered, in fact. It meets all the criteria. How many mutations are involved? Well, I don't know that they've tracked them all down yet, but there's clear evidence that most humans don't have this structure, as I understand it. So, there you go. I mean,
now what is this structure? What is this new organ that you're proposing?
Tubarial glands. They're offshoots of sinus cavities.
Okay. Well, look, you know what? Let's look it up. I would love to. I'd love to see this new organ that has formed with these mutations. So why don't we have an entire stream about that? I'm going to write it down. What's the name of it again?
Let me put it into the chat here.
Okay, because I think, a lot of these conversations, there's the same problem. We go around and around and around. And I would actually prefer if we focus in on something instead of just saying, do your storytelling and I tell you why it's not possible or not plausible, then let's focus in on something that you're saying, this is evidence of evolution, this is evidence of a new structure forming, and let's examine it. Let's look at it. I'd be happy to come back on at a scheduled time and talk about this evidence that you just presented.
Yeah, we should open this up. And Rebekah, I would like to have a talk with you too, one-on-one, and we got to get to that. And I know you've been reaching out and I've been ignoring you, but.
Oh, really? I
well,
didn't think you were ignoring me.
Well, yeah, I didn't really ignore you, but I was supposed to do it a while ago, and we could have a talk because I think there's a few things we have to talk about with this observation stuff. That would be, I have a candidate
Steve,
organ.
Can I ask a question?
Well,
yeah, we can open it up. Yeah, we can open it up, Peter, a little bit. But let's not gang up on Rebekah.
No, I have a simple question. I love it that Rebekah is all about evidence and things we can observe. How about observing someone coming back from the dead?
Yeah, I love observing people coming back from the dead. Let's do it.
Let's.
Have we ever?
I've never personally observed it, but I do believe people come back from the dead, probably more often than you think they do.
I've been to a few funerals. I prefer not to.
Granted, I'm one of them.
I thought I was dead tired.
That involved science and some high voltage, but I think that's different.
Well, Peter, if I can add something in here, I do remember a story that apparently there was this 90-year-old woman who was pronounced dead, but apparently she came back to life while in the morgue. I was like, what the fuck?
There's a difference between being dead and being pronounced dead.
Yeah. It's mostly dead.
Well, yeah, fair enough. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. That story always stuck out to me. Like, she was pronounced dead. Like,
I live in a country.
To be fair,
I live in a country where we still have graves where there are bells that the deceased could ring if they came back to life. That's not them coming back to life. That's just them mistaking for being dead.
Go the Netherlands.
And yet the bells never ring.
Although to be fair, she was 90, so she didn't have far to come.
Yeah, but
I heard that if you slow your heart rate too slow, that if they can't.
Sorry, Speeder, that was ageist.
Rebekah, everybody, our audience and everybody here seem to enjoy your conversation, so thank you for that.
Yeah,
thank you, Rebekah.
Oh yeah, I want to give a shout out to Atheist Junior. Hi, good to see you, Funk. And even to all the people
Rebekah,
who are calling me stupid and being mean to me, thanks for listening anyway. And I also.
They shouldn't. But Rebekah, I do have a question because you didn't answer.
In the middle of
you
a
didn't
sentence,
answer
Peter.
my question.
In the middle of a sentence.
I do. I do.
Peter is our resident interrupter.
Well,
So you were just saying, finish up what you're saying.
I asked the question. I asked the question, and a lot of people chimed in, and Rebekah didn't get the chance to answer. So I'm really interested.
Well, if you shut up, she'll let you answer. She'll answer you, Peter.
She did.
Shut up, Jesus.
She did answer, and then she went on to start thanking a few people, which you then interrupted.
Yeah, but I do have a question for Rebekah.
Do you want to ask the question again, then, since you don't feel you did get an answer? Go ahead.
Yeah, you said you think people come back from the dead, but have you ever seen someone come back from the dead after 3 days? And
Please listen,
do we
mate.
know how that happens?
I have never
I didn't hear that.
personally witnessed
you gotta
that,
listen, man.
but I think there are some credible stories of this happening. So, I mean, I definitely believe it happens. And I can point
But
you to some of those credible stories if you're
interrupting,
interested.
Peter.
Sure. But didn't you earlier criticize CRISPR that stories are not evidence?
No, I didn't say stories are not evidence. I said it's not science. So I'm fine with
okay.
stories.
That's
I
true.
like stories. I believe a lot of stories. I believe the Bible story, but I'm not calling it science, right? It's a story I happen to believe, but I'm not teaching it as a scientific fact. And so my main beef with
that's
what
a
is
really honest answer. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a really honest
Can
answer.
you-
I really respect you
Okay.
giving that answer.
The problem
But-
with it,
Peter,
Rebecca.
stop
Just one
hugging
more
Rebecca.
question, and then I'll let others
Stop
chime in.
hugging Rebecca.
Can
Jesus
I-
Christ.
Yeah.
Can I ask why you believe
No,
it?
Otangelo, you can't.
You get one more, Peter. One more, Peter. That's it.
That's my last. That's my last one so far.
Okay, repeat it.
Why do you believe it, Rebecca?
Well, and there's quite a few answers to that, so I'll try to be brief. But I believe it because it's the best story I've ever heard. And when I read it, I believed it was true. And now I've been experiencing the truth of it for many years. It hasn't disappointed me.
Exactly the same as evolution for me.
Man, I gotta say,
Okay.
if that's how I decided my beliefs, I'd be moving to a desert somewhere and trying to track down a worm. But here I am.
Ah, yes.
If
Okay.
I believed that, I would
I'd be a billionaire.
Oh my goodness!
Okay,
Sorry,
you know,
Peter.
kick
Well,
Peter
I
out.
wanna
In my
say
sentence,
Kick
you
Peter
interrupt-
out.
I was interrupted, but carry on, mate. What are you going to
Okay,
say?
it's one vote to kick Peter out. We're going to need two more, and then
Let
Peter's
Gerd do it. He's really good at it.
Oh, I don't.
was going to say that.
Who, Peter, who? Kick him out.
I was okay. So if that was the case, I certainly would have been back to watch Star Wars a few more times.
Now,
Anyway, sorry for
guys, I want to say something about this tubarial glads, whatever, however you pronounce it, I don't know. But this link that you put, I just kind of skimmed through this article that you sent, and this is the discovery of an organ, not the discovery of the evolution of an organ. So maybe we need to, discovering that something is in the human body is not discovering that it evolved.
Yeah, but they say a potentially new organism on this article. So,
sorry, two things just quickly. Firstly, when you say just so story, okay, you mean a posteriori, which is, of course, the scientific method. But of course, that doesn't mean we don't observe these things. What we observe are things which lead us to the conclusion that this is, in fact, happened in the past. Not that we're going to see this happening right now. Those are two very different things. And this is, of course, the scientific method we're talking about. And then secondly, when you say we've never seen this, of course, that is just begging the question against all of science. So if you're going to deny all of science, fair enough, you can say that.
all of experience. Think about it.
Otherwise, it's not a very good argument to say that. Go ahead.
Now, if I look out of my driveway and I see a car pulled up in my driveway running, I'm going to tell myself a story that it came down my street and that it turned off one of the 3 or 4 streets that intersect with it, or the 100 streets, right? I don't know which street that was, but you could call that a story, and you could say, I didn't observe that car coming in my yard, so I have no reason to believe that somebody drove it there. Yet, in everyday experience, we do this all the time.
Well, yeah.
Okay, we tell ourselves stories, right? I mean, and those stories are pretty damn credible. So it is credible stories that are important. It's not the fact that it's a story.
I know, and I don't find the story of evolution credible at all. That's the thing. I don't find it credible.
Because you're looking at different facts than we are. Okay, you're not looking at the same body of knowledge that a lot of us are.
I think I am.
Do you
I mean,
understand
I
it as
may
a
not
mechanism?
looking.
No.
I
Have
may
you-
not be looking at the depth with which biologists are looking, but I
That's
do
what I
think
mean.
but I do think I'm observing the same world that you're observing, and I think that our worldview, our filter, has more to do with why you believe that story, and why I don't. So,
Well, okay, a
yeah.
bug fell off my ceiling the other day, and I swatted it and I put it under my microscope, and I was observing the world that people ordinarily observe, and I did not see a needle-like proboscis on this thing until I turned on the microscope light and magnified it. Okay, so there's differences in what you're going to see at different levels when you start looking into this stuff. And the reason why we're persuaded by evolution is because we've looked into those little, we've looked at it at a more microscopic level. So we are not looking at the same body of knowledge.
Literally microscopic.
So
Well, then what about the
Rebekah-
biologists who look at that and they still say, no, I don't think evolution is plausible?
Which ones?
Well, we can take Douglas Axe, for example.
Who is bad
So-
at math?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not qualified?
I mean,
Well,
well, yes, but also he's bad at math.
Well, he's bad at I think he's a little bit bad at honesty, because 5 or 10 years before the paper that everybody talks about, he had a paper where they found that 25% of the mutations that they did on this protein resulted in a functional protein.
Yeah,
And
it's
then-
like, I mean, I got to tell you, I have never gotten any math problem wrong by 150 orders of magnitude.
Yeah.
And he has,
yeah,
and
he's
that's
the guy,
impressive.
Yeah, he's the guy. He's the guy who came up with the 10 to the 150 that a lot of people still use, and it's annoying and confusing. And yeah,
I think that
a
just
lot of people look at a
Rebekah-
number.
Just as a rule, if you're off in your calculations by 150 orders of magnitude, you should do something else with your life.
Post-traumatic stream disorder.
Well,
Jesus Christ.
What I'm saying is, you're saying that if I was a scientist and if I was looking at the evidence in a deeper way, that I would come to the same conclusion you have. And I'm providing an example, and there are many more examples, but I'm saying Douglas Axe has a PhD in molecular biology or something. And so is he not qualified? He's looking at the same evidence you're looking at, and he's saying evolution did not happen. So
Yeah, but what
All right,
evolution?
let me put it
does
this
he-
way. I know a lot of people who are involved in biology. I have known one person professionally who has ID leanings. Out of, I'm going to say 2,000 people.
Yeah. There's the consensus.
That number sounds right to me.
guys, it doesn't matter how many people believe it. It
Well,
does
it
not
does.
mean that it's true.
No,
People
but
have
that-
been wrong.
on-
There's been
no.
plenty of times throughout history when scientists have been wrong about stuff.
That's
So
true. But
you get-
the question was, if you remember, the point was is that if you were one of the people involved in this profession, right, and you had a deep understanding of all of this information, right, that you would almost certainly be convinced of evolution, which follows from the fact that 99.9 something percent of those people accept evolution. It doesn't mean
Okay,
it's true.
well,
it just
if-
means that you would accept it as true if you had that information.
Well, let's also keep in mind that from the age of 5 years old, people who are educated in Western countries are being indoctrinated into these ideas about evolution, and that does
Oh
make a
my
big difference.
God.
But
When was the
anyway, we
first
don't
time-
have to go there. I can see that people are getting,
I kind of want to go there.
But
I kind of do want to go there. When was the
All
first time? When was the first time in your church that you heard about young Earth creationism?
I never heard about young earth creationism in my church. My church never talked about that. Okay. But at least my church growing up, actually, I don't think I've ever been to a church that cared about young earth creationism. But I understand that many people are in churches that are like that. And, you know, I'm a young earth creationist, but I don't really like some of the dogmatism that goes along with it. So, you know, I am not one. I do not think it's a good idea to teach young earth creationism in school and, you know, the experiences that people have had with that. Like, I believe in teaching science in the science classroom and like not adding in, you know, our philosophical or, you know, religious ideas about things. So, but I want to say there's a lot of people in the chat saying that I am being dishonest, and I don't know why.
I don't think you are.
I would also like to answer the question about, is Rebekah vaccinated? Yes, I am vaccinated. And you know what? I would probably, I can almost guarantee I've had more vaccinations than like most people have, because I get the typhoid shot every couple years. I've gone to a lot of places where I needed like yellow fever, different kind of shots. I have a large vaccination record. Okay. And I believe in medicine. I also believe in miracles. I believe that God heals people through doctors. I believe in taking medicine. I believe in getting proper medical care. And I think that's a great way to get healed and helped. And I encourage people to get vaccinated. And I also encourage people to pray and expect God to do miracles. So I'm a believer in both. And I think it's weird when people think just because you take medicine, it means you don't have faith, or if you have faith, you shouldn't take medicine. That's a very weird position to hold. So anyway, that's my answer about vaccination.
I answered a prayer for you.
Thank you for saying that.
Prayer for you.
Yeah.
No, actually, honestly, I think let's go ahead and end.
Thank you for saying that. First of
Yeah,
all.
thank you for saying that. And let's go ahead, I think, and end on the agreement of this entire panel that people should definitely get vaccinated and trust in medicine.
Yeah. Yep. Here. I have I had my booster, so on Thursday I will have superpowers. So anyway.
You're gonna have 6G.
Did you see Germania's request to have you on, Rebekah? Did you get his email jotted down?
Oh, I'm not able to watch all the chat. I was just kind of seeing it at certain
I'd like to talk
times,
to you
so
at
now
some point.
I'm doing my best to hide sort of these comments that are coming up, so they won't be there on.
Oh, don't worry, Simos. I'm so used to this.
Well, I don't like it. I don't like it when the guests are personally insulted. Do you want to go against somebody's argument? Fair enough, but going against the person is just.
I lost Durstream's comment.
Childish.
It's okay.
But that's okay. I wasn't making much of a point.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, Rebekah.
Thanks for sticking up for me. Yeah.
I'm gonna sub to your channel so I can watch your content to see what type of stuff that you have. And I have to give you kudos for coming into a stream full of atheists and evolutionists and whatnot.
Hey,
not
it's my pleasure, Germania. I appreciate it, and I will sub to your channel also.
Are you going to have her on Ger Streams or Germania? Because I caught basically a sexually transmitted disease when I went on Ger Streams.
Shut up!
Careful of that.
I caught PTSD. I caught PTSD by looking at a Ger
Let's not talk about that, Speed. But I do want to talk to you after the stream ends.
Well, okay, I just have to mention Serb's comment here. Apparently, he got the shots and it gave him the 5G sickness.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, it's a nasty one. I hope you feel better soon, Cerberus Rex. I mean, Cabarrus Rex.
Yeah, but did he get the enlarged testicles though?
Oh, I got that.
I think he already had those. To be fair.
Now for the first time, I can at least find them.
Cricket.
Okay.
This is Speed trying to explain that he suddenly grew balls.
Exactly. You got it, Peter.
Midnight, did you say something to
Well,
me?
clearly he didn't because he let you back on here after what you did to him.
Hey, Grub, what were you
So
trying to
honestly,
I don't
the
remember.
joke would have been
No, midnight. He let me back because he needed me to make him another thumbnail.
now if
That's
you'll
the only
you'll
reason.
excuse me, I got to make this joke. The joke, Speed, would have been is that suddenly after you got vaccinated, your ex-wife's purse got a lot heavier.
Oh, there you go.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
You do know
shooting
my
in-
ex-wife, don't you?
Are we shooting in the head or what are we doing?
Yeah, I think we should shoot it in the head for the day, guys. This has been great. Thank you.
But,
Thank you, Crispr. Thank you, Rebekah. And thank you, other guys, for being so polite. My panel has never been so well behaved. I don't know what happened to him.
Oh, I hope Otangelo saw that.
What
I can
I can tell you
myself.
what happened.
You had a crusty Englishman in. Go ahead.
Speed. I can tell you what happened. You had a guest
shower
on
then.
who was respectful and cordial.
Yes, right.
Unlike you, Peter.
And then
Please don't
everyone
interrupt,
else
Peter.
is the same.
We'll all be waiting
Yeah.
for our check in the mail.
Can I finish, please? Can I
No.
please finish?
Okay,
Please
guys, let's
don't interrupt me.
Get us out of here, Speed.
let's end on a positive note. This is cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. It was fun.
I
Thank
do
you,
want
Thank
to
you.
Rebekah, for
Thank you,
promising
Rebekah.
us.
Goodbye, cruel world.
Take care.